Hello, you beautiful people out there. Welcome to another amazing episode of It's Critical podcast. Do you know what you just heard? Well, it's the new theme song of our show. Wasn't it amazing and absolutely beautiful? Well, speaking of amazing, join me with a virtual round of applause as I welcome the man behind the music, the man with gorgeous hair, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Um, so, my name is Jonathan, or as we say in French, Jonathan Lusteau, because I'm French. I'm 24 years old and I am a musician, songwriter, composer, self-taught musician, by the way, and I'm playing guitar, keyboard, bass, and many other stuff. So, as a music enthusiast, I have a very wide, inspiration. And well, I don't make a living out of music, but I am grateful to have you meet you guys, and thank you for inviting me here to be part of your team. Thank you so much, Sid, Kritika, and Joshua, which is joining us also.
Well,
Thank
it's
you.
absolutely beautiful to have you on the team, man. And since you are a Sonic master, you added another flavor to our team, which is absolutely beautiful. Now, coming to our podcast, for the past few episodes since we have been recording, our beautiful guests have been saying that though our content is amazing, there have been some technical glitches in our recording, and they couldn't hear what you wanted to say quite fine. There were noises, there were many technical glitches in our audio side. Well, now we have us with us someone who is absolutely brilliant and can help us fix that. So please welcome Mr. Joshua, who is the sound wizard with us currently. Hey Joshua, welcome to the show, man.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Fine, fine. How are you?
I'm good too.
So please tell us something about yourself.
So yeah, I'm a sound designer. Worked for a couple of movies. Apart from that, I'm a musician. So that's how I actually got into sound. Uh, Wait, did I tell my name? I'm Joshua Thakur, by the way. So yeah, that's all you need to know about me. I think
You're also
maybe.
in a few bands, right? And I'm sure that our audience would like to know about that as well.
Oh yeah, I never miss out a chance to plug in my bands. So I currently play for four bands.
Wow.
One, yeah, so all of them from plays different genres. I have a metal band, prog metal band called 36. I have a blues band called the Bird Experiment, and then I have a heavy metal rock and roll band called Upper Basement, and the fourth band is called the Fruit Salad Pinatas, which is a commercial cover band. It gets hard to like keep track of band names when you're a drummer because there's a shortage of drummers worldwide.
Well, but that's already a lot on your plate, and especially with that, when you also combine sound editing, I think you're just phenomenal.
Oh
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
oh yeah, you are.
Thank you.
And that was great to know, man. So, man of many bands, many talents, and many whatnot. So, guys, please follow Joshua on all the bands, and I'm sure we'll be listing it down somewhere. Well, while I was talking to Joshua, did you hear a noise in the back? A lady? Well, now it's time to introduce her. You must be knowing her for the past few episodes. She was hosting and got bored of it, so she just welcomed me to host this episode. So now, with another virtual round of applause, please welcome hostess Maximus of his critical podcast, Miss Kritika.
Well,
Hey Kritika, welcome to your show.
thank you so much, Sid. I mean, I've just been laughing and trying to control myself, and but I could not. So when Joshua introduced himself, I had to just pitch in. But anyway, thank you so much for giving my introduction. I think it's the first time I've been introduced on my own show. Uh, so now it's our show. So I'm really happy that we finally have a team with someone who's doing the sound, someone who's doing the illustration, someone who's doing the music. And speaking of illustrations, it's time that we introduce you. Thank you so much for taking over for this episode. And for our guest and our viewers, I would like them to know that Sid is the man behind, or the brain behind, all the quirky and colorful illustrations that you see on the cover of the podcast or on all of our social media platforms. And Sid is also the man behind giving us those very crazy and amazing titles, like, he, I don't know why, but he just has named me Hostess Maximus. I don't know how I really fit into that, and I hope I do justice with the name that he's provided me with. And over to you, Sid. Why don't you talk about yourself a little?
Well, thank you. And I'm sure you will live up to your name, Hostess Maximus.
Thank-
And yeah, since she said I'm the illustrator, that's why I'm holding a pen for no other reason. But okay, talking about me. So, hi, I'm Sid. I'm doing all the design and illustration for this amazing podcast, which Kritika came up with, the idea of which. And yeah, I'm basically a graphic designer and illustrator settled here in Bangalore. And I've been into illustration since a very young age. So I grew up with comic books and cartoon shows and a lot of novels. And reading them, I had that, always had that, living in that imaginary world. And that's how I was brought up. So all that quirkiness that you see comes from all my reading. The names that you see is from all the comic books and fictional novels that I've been reading. And the style of illustration I chose is again based on various cartoon shows and yeah, comic books. As I know, I have been repeating comic book on and on, but yeah, I'm totally driven by that. And it's really fun to have this amazing team with Kritika, with Jonathan and Joshua now. So it's a brilliant team now, and I hope we do justice to this podcast and to our viewers and listeners who put in all their time listening us speaking on and of course on interesting topics. So yeah, thank you very much, Kritika.
Thank you, Sid.
Well, now this episode is special because in this episode, all you guys get to know what happens behind the scene, what happens during the ideation of each episode, during the recording sessions, during composition of the music, the coming up with illustration, and then finally the sound editing and all. So first of all, let's start with Jonathan, who composed the music. So Jonathan, how did you come up with the music for this podcast?
Well, basically, Kritika just asked me for some jingle that will be basically around 15 to 20 seconds, pardon. And related to the subject that she was talking about, I thought that she tries to bring lights of lights for some subject that are quite hard to express. So I wanted something to be, I guess, happy and sunny, so that it can bring sort of hope and joy. Because yeah, I think overall his job is to be positive. So I wanted something to be quite yeah, happy and sunny, to say the least.
That's really great to know. So it's always interesting to know a story behind creation of the music. So Jonathan, what are some of your inspiration? Who or what inspires you to get up every day and do what you are doing?
Oh well, I would say music is something that makes me makes me vibrate and waiting for every day to be better than the last one. Basically, I fell in love with music at the quite, I would say, young age, and then my passion for it only grew up basically till the point that I reconsider it. I reconsidered it to be my main activity, basically. So I would say music is in itself a big inspiration to me. I've been listening to a lot of music from French artists to rock, prog rock, metal, um, classical composition, and composers such as Bach, which I love, gypsy jazz, and yeah, many stuff that inspires me. And yeah, I guess my aim in life is to get a living, to make a living out of music, and hopefully bring dreams, hope, and joy to people around. You know, sharing my passion and sharing emotions with people. I guess this is how I see my journey being alive, and this is what makes me wake up every day, I guess.
Well, that's really amazing, and it's such a beautiful dream and ambition that you have. I'm sure you'll go far on your journey and achieve greats.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And now, coming to Joshua, our newest member. So, you are a sound engineer and you are editing for us. So, first of all, how do you feel joining the team?
I feel really nice. It's been quite a while since I went back to my sound designing roots. It's been quite a bit. I started off by editing a few podcasts, and then I got introduced to I got introduced to her through a mutual friend. So yeah,
By the way, we all know Ayan here, and Ayan was one of our guests on the first episode. So even if you take his name, people would know. At least someone who's been following us would know who Ayan is.
yeah. So yeah, I got to know her through him. I am. So
That's great. So, thank you, Ayan. I'm sure you're listening to us. Don't just listen to your episode, man. So, thank you for introducing Joshua to the team. Okay, same question to you, man. I mean, what inspires you every day to get up and do what you are doing?
so ever since I was a young kid, my forte has been music. As Jonathan said, that my end of the day, my goal is to earn through music. Like I want music to be my bread and butter. So yeah, I started playing for bands ever since I was 13. When I was 13, I made my first band, and then I had around like three or four bands just in my hometown, which is Shimla, Himachal Pradesh. So a
Wow.
very small town with, you know, everyone knows each other. So I started playing for two, three bands, and we started releasing music. Now, again, when I shifted here for education, I started playing music again. Like after 1 year of shifting here, I started playing music with a few bands, and then it just snowballed from there. And uh, 2 years back, we launched our own record label as well. So a few friends of mine, seniors from school, we started a record label called Pinecone Records.
Wow.
So we signed a few artists from all over India, and now we're representing them on an international and a national level.
That's
So
that's really brilliant. That's really brilliant and amazing to know.
thank you so
And
much.
of course, we'll be mentioning all the name of Joshua's band and everything in the description and also in the article that follows. And now let's talk to the hostess Maximus. So, Kritika, please tell us something about the ideation of this.
Sell us. I think you're getting my marketing side out.
I'm sure, I'm sure. So, I think our audience would really like to know the ideation. So, what was the critical idea behind this critical podcast?
Well, it's an interesting question because there's been a lot going behind. So, for a couple of years now, I had just been thinking of what do I do that helps bringing the change. Like, I keep talking about, okay, we need change, but what am I doing? Like, sure, I am an activist and I'm like, on the roads doing a few things, but is it enough? I really didn't feel enough, and to be honest, it was more to do with what and how I could inspire myself and motivate myself to keep pushing and moving forward. And So I thought of an idea of doing conferences, and I did happen to do a couple of conferences for the government of India, and apart from that for a few brands, from FMCG to luxury to a few other industries. But what I found was that, it was too expensive, and second, I was not reaching out to a lot of people. As in, yeah, in that particular city or that sector, I was, but it was still not helping me. I mean, I was just doing something for brands and not for a cause. So that's when a friend Somojit introduced me to podcast, and he suggested a few podcasts to me. And I think it was 2020 when I started listening to podcasts. And during the lockdown, something happened in the month of March, and it just clicked. And I was like, you know what? I called Ayan and I was like, Ayan, I think I found my place. I think I should start podcasting. And Ayan was like, sure, if you feel that you want to do it, just go ahead. And then I sat down and I planned of the things that I really want to talk about. And I figured out that I wanted to talk about climate change. I wanted to talk about health and mental health, especially. And I wanted to talk about animal welfare and animal cruelty that happens across the globe at this moment of time. And if we see, COVID also is a result of us being cruel to animals and in the way we treat animals in general. So the thought came from there. And that is the reason, that's how I started. And to keep it short, the other idea came, the word it's critical happened because I thought the conversations that I'm doing are pretty critical. And by critical, it does not mean it's negative. By critical, it only means that we need to engage in meaningful conversations and have discussions around these topics. And the spin came from my name, Kritika. So I just added an L and made it critical. And here it's critical.
That was critically beautiful, if that's a word. But since I've been making
Yes.
rounds with the same question, I'll ask you the same thing. What inspires you to get up every day and work for this?
I think I'll be really honest and say that seeing learning new things. I think I get up every day and I keep I'm always excited that what's the new thing that I'll add into my own list of things that I know. I'm very curious and I've always been very curious, so about a lot of things. So every day I make sure that I learn something new about some different. And what inspires me daily, majorly, is to get up and do something good for the animals. I think I see myself dedicating my life in that direction. And this podcast is also a way of talking about the issues related to animal welfare. And if I come to another inspiration, I think nature is in itself a great source of inspiration. And I'm slowly seeing myself uh, become very leaned towards things that are natural and sustainable. And whether it's through my readings, whether it's through my writing, whether it's through all the people that I connect with these days, to anything and everything that I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be as conscious as I can. And nature actually inspires me to move into that direction.
That's really beautiful. And for our audience, those who don't know, Kritika has been doing an
Am
amazing
I?
job. Let me tell you, even before Jonathan and Joshua joined us, she was the one editing everything. So all the
That's why
videos,
it was
all the audios
crappy.
that he, it was not crappy. Come on. So I
Actually, it
didn't
was the
help her.
best you
She's
could
just
do at the
downplaying
time.
herself. But let me tell you, she had no
Yeah.
idea about how to edit anything, but she learned it. And to be honest, she has been doing an amazing job from day
Yeah.
one. That's what I've been telling her, but she's not ready to accept it. So maybe you
Yeah.
can tell that in your comments, in the comment section below. Do that, please. Like, share, subscribe, and do that for on all the podcast
Well, thank you.
platforms and on YouTube. I'm
And
sure.
show some love.
Anyway, moving forward, I think, Sid, it's time that you tell us about your inspiration, because it's important to hear your story too.
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak. The first time Kritika came up with this idea, she just called me up one day, and yeah, Kritika has been my friend for quite a long time now. And she one day called up and said that, hey, Sid, I have this idea of a podcast about this thing, and it's gonna be critical. And I said, wait, isn't that your name? And I was like, okay, fine, that's a nice play. But when she explained me the cause and the reason behind it, I was really impressed because knowing Kritika for a long time, I have known that she has been really vocal about all these issues about animal welfare, about veganism, about mental health, and all. So she has been really vocal about all these critical issues, and I think it's not been spoken that much in our society due to a lot of reasons, all the taboo and everything behind it. But since she came up with this idea that we need to come up with something to educate people, to let them know that what we are doing and what how it is affecting uh, to the environment and over us in a larger scale. So everything that we do affects us. So yeah, that made me think, and I thought that it's a noble cause. So I thought that I'll surely help with my talent and with my forte, that whatever I have. So I came on as an illustrator and a designer. So the logo that you see, interestingly, was made by Kritika, your hostess Maximus herself. I just put in some colors to it. That's about it. Not nothing much. But talking about the names that you see every day, which Kritika thought was really interesting. So that came up because I was always growing up with comic book and pop culture. So I thought I'll put a interesting spin depending on the personalities of all the guests we have on board. So yeah, that was really fun coming up with those names and giving that fun touch, because I thought once this matter is critical, but there should be a touch of fun so that it connects with more and more people. So that was the idea behind the names.
Especially the younger
Yes,
audiences. So
definitely. And the younger audience, of course, they are into fun stuff. So I thought, why not put a bit of fun to this critical podcast? I've been saying critical over and over again, so that you guys also put it in your brains. But yeah, then talking about the illustration, that was the most fun part, because I've been an illustrator for a long time now, and whenever I get a chance to show my talent and also hopefully earn some money with
yeah.
my talent, I try to do that. And speaking about of that, sponsors, if you are looking at us, please sponsor us. We hope to get better with this. And
Yeah, but and also like now there's a conditions applied because we are only looking at sustainable and ethical and plant-based brands to sponsor us.
yeah, so
So to be very specific,
Yeah,
yeah, I know
it is.
I don't have the power to be very specific to be decide the one making decision here, but I think yeah, that's how we see if in case we have
It
brands
of
on
course,
it's
board.
that's a
it's
cause
all
worth
about
supporting. So I
ambition.
think it makes sense to have them on board. And
Yeah,
speaking of that, also Patreons. If you are there, please follow us on Patreons. Kritika, I'll share the link in the description and support this
yeah,
podcast so that all of us can make some money, eat some good food, and hopefully make this podcast better each and every day. So yeah,
yeah,
illustration is basically was just to support each every episode and give that fun touch. And since I love doing illustration, so yeah, I've been doing that. And based on the topics of each episode, I come up with the idea coming from basic sketch, and me and Kritika talk over it, and that's how we come up with the final illustration that you see as a cover image of each episode. So yeah, that was very fun, and I'm on this team because first of all, the critical topics that we are talking about, and secondly, because it's an amazing team with Kritika, John, and now Joshua. So yeah, it is absolutely pleasure being here. Talking about inspiration, yeah. So since I've been growing up with pop culture, all the comic book writers and artists have been inspiring me. So a lot of writers like Stanley, which of course every one of you now know because he's a famous name. But even excluding him, it's Jim Lee. Then you have Gerard Mobius. He's a French artist and is amazing at it. And a lot of other such artists and illustrators whose work I've been seeing since I was a kid. And I grew up with that. And also, I love collecting toys. So I always have something. So if you like to see some of mine, these are my collections. So yeah, that's a Deadpool pop. And yeah, that's again, I love collecting these things. And basically, all these things. around pop culture inspires me to be better every day. So I love to sketch something every day and hopefully get better at my craft, and maybe make a name and travel around the world with this, and hopefully do much better in this podcast too. Yeah, so everything around me inspires me. Okay, so that was for me. I mean, that's all I have. Now coming back to Joshua, because he's the newest member, and also because he's a sound engineer. So of course you have been hearing all the recording and all the music behind it. But now, Joshua, what are the critical elements that you would like to focus on and hopefully make us much better than we are currently? So Joshua, take it over and please tell us about your thought behind making this better.
All right. So I think the first thing that a podcast needs to have is a good audio. I mean, that's a given. I shouldn't be mentioning that. But uh, like we're all at home, we're stuck with limited equipment. We all don't have, a condenser microphone at home. We're using like even I'm using my headphone mic. So, just making sure that everything sounds nice, everything is audible. Yeah, Jonathan is showing off right now.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, so bringing the audio together, getting being able to hear each and every word uh, in a podcast, I think is very important. So my job is basically to compile of the all of that together, uh, clean up as much as I can. It basically is like add a lot of compressors on the dialog tracks. So, yeah, and the most important element for me, I think, is my software. I actually can't do anything without my software. I mean, yeah, like that's, yeah, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but yeah, I mean, that's about
Yeah.
it. I think.
So that's good to know, and I think we all are dependent on technology now, and more so since we are in a phase of a lockdown, and of course, even this podcast is being organized through Google Meet and
Yeah.
what you're seeing, right? So yeah, we all are dependent on our technology.
Today on Discord. Today Google Meet somehow didn't work for
Okay, so
us.
we are on Discord today. Come on, man. I cannot
Yeah.
make that mistake. Anyways, so moving on, I think Kritika, it's time to for you to take over and talk to us about how we're going further with
I
this
think,
podcast.
Sid, first of all, I would like to thank Joshua because Joshua, if not for you, if you were not here today, I don't think moving forward would have been easy for me or for any of us because uh, I was doing a really bad job at editing, and it's not something I do. But I had limitations, financial limitations at that moment. But now I'm hoping that with you coming on board, all of the noise issues and those issues are sound issues are sorted, and I'm really grateful that you're part of us. Like it's critical now, and. For me, I think what majorly plays a role, of course editing and video editing then comes into picture, but even before I shoot an episode, what's majorly critical for me is doing my research. And when I say my research, then I have guests who are lawyers, who are authors, who are researchers, who are professors, who are animal rights activists or food nutritionists or doctors. So I have a variety of people joining us on the podcast. So before every single episode, I have to first go through their background, check what they do, what's their profile like, what the industry in which they work is talking about, and what are the newest trends in their industry, and then make my questions around those factors. And then how does it impact the environment or the animals or our health? And that's majorly what I'm doing with all the episodes, and then stitching all the questions together, making sure that every question, whatever answers the guest gives, it has a cue for the next question. So I have to make sure that I prepare a question in such a way that their answers also gives me a cue to ask my next question. So research plays the most important role in all of my recordings. And then I think also, yeah, making, like, now I think I have all my guests there in place, but touch basing with people, on networking with them, trying to write emails and call them and message them and then see whoever I can get on board. and then schedule all my calls, schedule all my recordings, and I think that's then becomes the second
Okay,
priority.
so our esteemed listeners, so you know the effort Kritika and all of us are taking to make these episodes for you guys. So please help us by supporting us on every platform. Subscribe to us on YouTube and all the other podcast platforms, and also join us on Patreon and support us with your amazing love. Now, this episode marks a critical point. This is a critical juncture for us because we'll be speaking about much newer topics. So, now, Kritika, since we have been discussing about this, and we think that we have talked about mental health, about
Yeah.
violence during this lockdown, and about physical health and everything.
I think before I get into the next episode, because that will be the end of this podcast, I would like to do a quick rapid fire session with three of you. And I know Joshua is the least prepared for this. Okay, then going forward, I think let me just tell you how it's going to be. I'll ask one question to Joshua first, then to Jonathan, and then to Sid. And you will have to give me a one word answer. And if in case you can't give me an answer in one word, then you are free to use a phrase or a sentence. All right?
Should I be nervous?
Okay.
No, no.
All right.
So,
Okay.
Joshua, the first question for you, the first word for you is dog.
Cuddles.
Jonathan, frog.
Leap.
Sid, dog.
Friend,
Joshua, frog.
Ugly.
Uh, Jonathan, dog.
Friendship.
Sid, frog.
fairy tales,
Joshua, money.
More guitars.
Yeah. It's challenging, isn't
Okay,
it?
that's a good one. So, Jonathan, for you,
Good.
it's want.
No. um, love.
Sid, money.
need,
Joshua, want.
Peace of mind.
Jonathan, money.
Secondary.
Sid, need.
comic books,
Joshua, need.
More guitars.
Yeah.
Jonathan, need.
Someone.
Sid, money.
more comic books,
Joshua, desire.
More music.
Jonathan, desire.
Disease.
This was good. This was good. Sid,
Thank you.
Sid, desire.
travel,
Okay. Joshua, sustainability.
Veganism.
Seriously, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan, for you, the question would be music.
Language.
Sid, sustainability.
nature,
Joshua, music.
Need.
Jonathan, sustainability.
So many things. Permaculture.
So, Sid, music.
fuel for the day.
Okay. So, I think it was a good round, and now we can move on to the next one and the final round. And how did you guys feel during the session, rapid fire session?
Yeah, Jonathan, please tell us.
Oh, well. it was, I mean, probably not that bad, but yeah, there is progress ahead.
Joshua, how about you?
I, for one, I didn't feel any pressure at all. I had all the words at the tip of my tongue.
It was
Really?
very musical.
Yeah.
Your answers were very musical.
It's basically I need more guitars.
Yeah,
anyone wants
of
to
course,
use
with the
guitars,
power of
please.
editing, I think you will turn out to be the hero of this round.
Yep.
But even for me, I felt this round was really fun, and I've been listening to this round for in all the other episodes too. So yeah, it was fun to be a part of this. Yeah, and you have been hearing me talking about comic books, so hopefully that does not drag the attention out. But yeah, it was fun, and of course, you were an amazing host, and that's why the title Hostess Maximus.
Thanks. Thank you. But yeah, you had a last question for me, and I think yeah, I would want to answer that because it makes a lot of sense for people to know about that. So, uh, should I just go ahead with that?
Yes, please. So, I mean, after this important juncture, how we're proceeding? What's in the future for It's
So
Critical?
I think it's very important that I talk about what happened before this. So during the first few episodes, I think the episode with Ayan and Nishkarsha, or with uh, Anika and Lakshmi, or with Farat, I think these episodes were majorly targeted towards mental health, and where Ayan and Nishkarsha talked about, and mental health and the importance of support system in general, of how important our friends are or our families are when it comes to helping each other out and being for there for each other. Anika and Lakshmi talked about mental health and domestic violence, because during the COVID-19 lockdown, not just India but globally, the cases of domestic violence have seen an alarming rise, and whether it's Brazil, Singapore, India, China, everywhere the reports are, it's just so disheartening, like, to just know about the cases, and how domestic violence or even COVID-19 has impacted our mental health. So that session was mostly around those lines, and Anika works for an organization called Breakthrough India, and they are doing a phenomenal work of helping out women in need in India. And then the third episode was with Farat. Farat is my therapist. Like, I love her, but apart from me loving her, I think I just wanted to talk about mental health and its importance. And Farat talked about really great things, like, how it's, like, we talk about and we hear people reading in school, and even we studied about physical health, right, of how diabetes happens, or how, headache ke liye, like, we take medicines for headache, and there are so many things that we are taught in school, but we are never taught anything about mental health. So she talked about how it is critical and important for government interventions to happen, wherein, like, even our school guidelines should have mental health as a part of our curriculum. And that session in itself was very enlightening for at least someone like me. And now this is a transition episode, and because we're doing a lot of things during this episode, now after this we have a new soundtrack, because before this we were using a YouTube royalty free soundtrack, and now Jonathan has made a beautiful soundtrack for us. And then with Joshua coming on board, our music hopefully will be like, I know I don't have to be hopeful. I know it's going to be way better than what it was before this episode. And I'm hoping that the four of us can do justice in terms of everything that we are packaging together for the podcast. And the next few episodes are going to be about nutrition and physical health. And then from physical health, we have some nutritionists coming on board. We have we have someone who's a nutritionist as well as a healer who's coming on board, and from there we talk about food, and we get into the major health aspect of food, wherein we have people who own some plant-based restaurants in India. I have someone from who is part of a plant-based meat company in the US, to someone who is into the plant-based milk company in India, and so on and so forth. And then moving beyond that, we talk about the aspects of animals and their role in the food that we eat, and how animals are in general treated in the food system, or the animal agriculture sector, so to say. And then talking about those sectors, this sector specifically, we have journalists, we have professors, we have researchers, we have doctors, and let's and by the end of it, we also have a surprise. So let's see how it goes.
Of course, of course. So, audience, you know now what's coming up for you, and I hope you have been liking this podcast, what we do for all this time, and you will show your love in the future. Now, of course, you can follow It's Critical on all the major social media platforms. But now we should also know about our guests. So, Jonathan, please tell our audience where they can follow you on social media.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram. And by the way, I just started it from scratch, so you get along new things. Um, so it is it's John Lust, basically JON underscore LUST underscore. And by the way, you can also follow me on SoundCloud. And it is soundcloud.com/Jonathan hyphen Lusteau LUSTEAU. So there you have it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Same for Joshua. Where can our audience follow you on social media?
So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle there is Thakur Joshua. Uh, and I just made a Twitter account to be socially relevant.
Okay.
We will add it in the description below, so don't worry.
Yes, Kritika, would you like to tell our audience where they can follow you?
So on Instagram, I think my handle is at the rate. No, I know my handle is at the rate Indian Vegan Diary. So it's INDIANVEGANDIARY, and on Twitter, it's at the rate DONTBEKRITIKAL. It's don't be critical. And no, guys, I don't want you guys to take this profile seriously. It's for me. It's for reminding me that I don't have to be overcritical. So it's don't be critical.
Great.
And now coming to me, if you want to see some quirky and fun illustration, follow me on Instagram at the rate Sid Daily Doodles. It's SIDDAILYDOODLES. That's Sid Daily Doodles on Instagram. And if you want to read some quirky and fun short stuff, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at the rate Siddy Platypus. It's SIDDYPLATYPUS. All our social media handles will be mentioned in the
But
comment below.
I would still
So you
like
can
to
follow.
mention our podcast social media handle on Instagram. It's ITSKRITIKALPODCAST. It's Critical Podcast, and on Twitter it's ITSKRITIKALPOD. It's Critical Pod. So, and rest all the links, whether it's for LinkedIn or for any other platform, for Spotify, Google, Apple, all of those, it will be there on the description below on our YouTube channel or even on our podcast directories. Plus, for anything else, you can log on to www.itskritikal.com.
So there you go, guys. You have all our social media platforms, all our handles. So show us your love and support by following us on all the platforms. And if you like what we are doing here, please support us by following us on Patreon, the link of which will be in the description below. So I hope all of our guests and our host had fun today in this
Yeah.
episode. What do you
Yeah,
say?
we did.
Did you have fun?
Of course. It was great, and I can't wait for the next time.
Thank you so much for letting me host this episode, and I hope I did justice. Thank you, audience, for listening to us. And till we have our next episode, here is Sid with the team of It's Critical signing off for today.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.